My mother is Catholic, and she took me to church, and I sang. I was an altar boy. I also sang as well in the choir. I did as what my parents said, but I didn't actually. I was actually the one listening to the priest, but I didn't agree half the time. But it was.
Shalom, Emmanuel.
Hello.
So this week for our podcast, I would like us to go a little bit deeper in what we started last week, in trying to understand what were the moments within your coming out of Christianity or your previous beliefs. What were the key points in your path by listening to Rabbi Singer's videos or your research online? What were the key points really that something moved inside of your mind and you had an awakening and then decided to search deeper back into Judaism and Torah?
Well, when I was a lot younger, my mother is Catholic, and she took me to church, and I sang. I was an altar boy. I also sang as well in the choir. I did as what my parents said, but I didn't actually. I was actually the one listening to the priest, but I didn't agree half the time. But it was, you couldn't say anything. My mother would look at me and tell me, it is the way it is. He said it. He said it. But my mind always had something else thinking about everything and questioning. And later on, my brother as well became a born-again Christian. And it just wasn't a path that I didn't see it that way. The rest, for me, the idea of, one man taking everybody's sin, and yet there's no peace in the world. I made a conscious decision that a person had to take his own responsibilities for the actions he's come. And in that lifetime, in that path, everything had gone wrong for me. A bad marriage, friends, that I didn't have friends anymore, even just society not liking the person I'd become. And I wasn't always a good person. And yet that's what it led me to down that path, and everything else that was wrong. But yet, in the back of my mind, I always knew there was always more. There was always something else. You really had to look in the mirror and say, what are you doing wrong? What are the actions that are causing your life to actually be in this hole that you can't get out? Society always says that, we need to help the other, which is good and all that. But in this little journey, it's like what I always say: how can you help the next person if you're not 100% yourself? How do you love the next person if you don't love yourself? So instead of going towards what the idea would be, go into a middleman to reach HaShem, why not go direct to the source? And that's what led me to the path.
Okay, and tell me, were there at any point particular questions in the Bible that you found the incoherency, that they were not coherent?
In terms
of, for example, you saw that in the prophets, in Isaiah 52, that was brought about the certain fake Messiah, and then you realize that actually, with Rashi, he was actually referring to Jacob and the Jewish people. Were there any particular biblical passages that you found that were not true?
Well, that's another long discussion. It depends. I mean, it's weird because even towards into the New Testament, even when they go back to try to go into the Old Testament, or I should say the Torah, it sort of contradicted everything that was in the passage of the Torah towards what everybody else understands, even the New Testament, or what Catholicism and everything understands. So it's that was the biggest contradiction. So yeah, a lot of it until one actually goes into reading the actual Torah and understanding the foundation, you start to realize that it's basically you need to get out yourself and actually work hard for it.
Indeed. And tell me just one last question. How old were you when you start that change in your life?
I was 30, but building up before, you could say there was a bit of a, I wonder if this happens to me one day. I wonder if this happens. It's funny, sometimes you speak your own future, and yet I said a lot of things when I was younger, and yet the build-up was basically when I turned 30 and everything just all came at once, and it was a lot to handle, but yet necessary. And and it just kept on going now. Now I'm 39, or turning 40 next year, and that's not something that I won't change.
And you're married and you have beautiful children.
Yes, I did get remarried. I did learn that, okay, you don't just give up on the first, fall. You have to get back up and do it all over again. And with that, I did a lot of research into Jewish life, understanding commandments, relationship. I had to go back from the beginning, as if, you know what, the way I said it to most people when I turned 30, I felt like my brain was basically asking for input, and I just needed to learn and read and understand. And it was never that, it wasn't the old mentality of generations before when they said, oh, that's how they did it, we should do it that way. No. There was a serious error in my life that I need to understand why it is wrong and how do I fix it. And sometimes, well, all the time, ask your creator.
Indeed. Thank you, Emmanuel, for sharing that. And looking forward to see you again next week. Bezat Hashem.
Likewise.